Hi, and welcome back to 66 Days. I'm Dr. Melissa Shank, and we're learning to make positive self-changes. Little bit of an update for my habit formation. I'm on day 46 of my piano work. I'm working on a little bit more detailed focus, working on rhythm using my metronome. As far as working on my growth mindset, I'm on day 25. My handwriting, little bit more of a struggle there. I'm not seeing the progress I was expecting to see. So I decided to purchase for myself a new book, Improve Your Handwriting. This is intended to fix my writing issues, not to learn to write in a new way. I'm still enjoying my practice book very much, but instead of focusing on copying someone else's style, I'm focusing on developing my own, which I think is helping. For this video, we are going to clarify some multitasking myths. I'm going to teach you some single tasking strategies. And of course, I'm going to start with a story. My husband, Jim, is terrific. He is one of the people who can just really focus in on something. For example, we'll be watching TV and he will ask me a question, or I'll ask him a question, or I'll pop up to get a drink. And he will always pause and wait for me. Whereas I tend to do the other thing. I tend to think that, I can just, talk to him for a minute and just grab a drink real quick and still focus on what's happening in the show. Well, it always seems to happen that I find myself lost as far as the plot or missing something funny, and we've got to go back and watch it again. Multitasking is not a real thing that our brains can do. So why do people do it? Why do they think they can do it? For me, I think I'm getting more done. I think I'm being super productive. Look at me, I'm awesome. Look at all that I accomplished today. Why people multitask? Well, the research shows that people are trying to get their work done faster. Who can blame them? That they are easily distracted by notifications, emails, other people asking questions. And that they just get bored with the thing that they're focusing on, which does make sense. Our brains tell us to move away from pain and towards pleasure. And therefore that leaves our brains often thinking, hey, I can find something more fun to do than this work. Or, ooh, I've got an email or a text. Let's look at that right now, and moves ourselves away from that focus that we need to get our work done. The research shows Dr. Clifford Nass and his team from Stanford did studies on multitasking. They found that people who multitasked were more easily distracted. They focused on less important tasks. They were slower at switching tasks and starting new tasks, and even less organized at storing information in their memory. Multitasking doesn't help. Multitaskers can take 50% longer on tasks, have 50% more errors, and a 40% productivity drop. Now, some tasks you can do together. For example, listening to music while driving or watching your kids while cooking. None of these things requires the serious task focus to distract you from the other task that is taking your focus. But there are other things that cannot be multitasked. Your brain simply won't read while talking to someone. So if you're looking at your phone and thinking that you're having a conversation with your partner, well, you're really either not reading or not listening. It's just, you can't do those things at the same time. Same thing with texting while driving. Absolutely cannot focus on the road well while you're reading a text or trying to type a response. Very dangerous, that one. Dave Crenshaw wrote a great book, The Myth of Multitasking, and he talked about that what our brains really do is task switch. They're either using active or passive switches. An active switch is something purposeful that you make a choice to change a task. In a meeting, you decide that you're going to check your email real quick. A passive switch is something that's a distraction, something that happens all of a sudden that causes you to lose focus. A coworker walks over with a quick question, or if you're working from home like me, your dog walks in with a ball and thinks that it's playtime. The myth of multitasking reminds us that these things distract us and that often we allow our brains to get that distracted because, let's face it, a lot of times our work isn't very fun. Switching tasks, though, takes more time than doing tasks one at a time. So you actually are losing time by thinking that you're doing more than one project at a time. More tasks lead to more time loss. As you can see in this chart, you're losing a lot of time to task switching. Your brain is spending a lot of time flipping back and forth between the tasks and not a lot of time working on each task. Small task switches can cost up to 28% of your workday. That is a lot. You lose time. You lose relationships with your coworkers, your family, your friends, and it's harder to regain focus after the switch. Your willpower is dying and your brain is tired, and it really just isn't good for you. So there are plans, there are things that you can do to minimize task switching. Computers multitask. People don't. There needs to be an understanding that our minds do not work like our computers. We need breaks. We need to plan our time. There are things that we can do. For example, at work, you can build in time in your schedule for questions when you're not working on focused tasks. Maybe that's your email time. Maybe that's your checking in on your text messages. Clarify your availability with your coworkers. Have posted office hours in your email or on your voicemail, and budget your time. This is time for work. This is time for family, especially if, like me, you're working from home and those things can switch into each other very easily. Plan your off hours when you're working from home. I stop working at this time, and unless it's some emergency, and no, most things are not an emergency, you need to make sure that it can be handled the next day. Asking yourself some questions helps you understand your needs as far as your work time, your family time, and your friends' time. Plan to reduce and remove your multitasking. What are areas of my life that are conflicting with other areas for my time and for my energy? What are the costs of my multitasking activities? What am I losing? What limits can I set, the things that I can do to help me focus on one task at a time? And I always like to give you my own personal examples. Areas of my life that conflict, well, work tasks and family and friends, especially while working from home. The time just seems to carry into each other and there are no hard boundaries. The costs, well, I'm not listening very well. I find myself distracted and thinking about other things, and I'm unfocused on my relationships, both my work relationships and my personal ones. I find myself a little bit scatterbrained. So what limits can I set to help myself focus on one task at a time? Well, one of the things I'm going to do is to plan on some regular breaks from work. I'm going to turn off my email alerts. I've been one of those people who is notorious for leaving my email up all the time. So I just am constantly notified, even while working, that something else has come up. Ooh, look at this. And it's a big distraction, causing my brain to task switch, and then I have a harder time focusing back on my task. Put away the phone when I'm with others. I think a lot of us are guilty of this, that our phones with notifications, with distractions, and we find that we're not really listening to others. Think about adding in breaks for yourself. Think about ways to reduce and remove your phone and computer notifications. One thing that I'm going to do is to plan some brain breaks for myself. What's a brain break? Well, for me, I chose 15 minutes because it seems like a good amount of time. Stretching, walking, getting a change of scenery away from my office or my desk, relaxing, maybe meditating. These are purposeful breaks. It's not something that's used for online shopping or using social media. Research has varied on how often you need a brain break. Some research has said you need 17 minutes every 52 minutes. That seemed oddly precise to me. Some research said take a break every 75 to 90 minutes. And some research said you need 5 minutes every 25 minutes for full productivity. For me, I chose 15-minute breaks, and I decided that it should be every hour to 75 minutes, depending on how productive I'm feeling. If I need that break a little early, I'm going to be a little more flexible with myself. What can we do? We are in control of this. We can remove distractions and interruptions. Things like email notifications. Things like turning off messaging when at work. Think about saying no to extra tasks. You don't have to do everything. Think about making a plan. How do I prioritize my tasks? It can help to schedule time with important people. Think about your colleagues, clients, family, and friends. When do you need time to focus on these people? Use a to-do list and follow it daily. This is one I'm actually pretty good at, is every day I start with a to-do list, and I often will move tasks into a to-do list for tomorrow when planning ahead. Think about working on more difficult tasks first when you're fresh from your breaks. That's one I struggle with, as I tend to avoid those difficult tasks and wind up at the end of the day struggling through something I don't want to do with not a lot of effort and energy going for me. Another thing you can do, take care of yourself. You're a better worker, you're a better parent, you're a better friend when you're taking care of yourself. Those brain breaks can really help with that. Meditate, breathe, take a short walk, get up and stretch, relax, but leave your workspace periodically to just give yourself that break from work so that you can refocus and get your attention back. My plan, and my puppy. My plan is to do what Miss Pickles is doing right here. Between vigorous playtimes, she rests. And I get jealous of that sometimes because, well, look at her. She just looks so comfy. What I'm going to do is 60 to 75 minutes of work focus with a 15-minute break away from my desk. I'm going to use a timer with a gentle sound as a reminder. And I'm going to reduce some distractions. Well, okay, not the puppy. I'm going to close my email, I'm going to turn off notifications, and I'm going to put away my phone during those 60 to 75 minute focus work times. And then I can check in during my break times or right at the end of my breaks before I jump back into another focused activity. Your brain was not built for multitasking. Single task focus increases your productivity by reducing that task switching on your brain. You'll find yourself more energetic and more productive. You need to be able to control the many distractions in your life. Yes, I know that not all of them can be controlled, but again, thinking ahead and planning will help you. Balance that plan so that you have some focused work time and some time for others, as well as, don't forget, that time for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of 66 Days. I'm Dr. Melissa Shank. My daughter reminds you to smash that like button and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much.